Welcome to the Prophecy Club. I'm going to bring you some positive news to start with, and then we're going to talk about how God works here for just a minute so you can understand that sometimes there are two threads flowing at the same time. In other words, just like he told me, I've told you many times now, August the 8th, 2015, I heard the audible voice of God say, "This is the time of miracles." Then he downloaded into my heart that as the judgment hits, so will his miracles. Now, hold on. What's that saying? He's saying that there's two things happening at once. In other words, there are some good things happening, but those good things happen to balance the bad. Now, I'm about to read some good to you, and I love what this brother's prophesying. His name is Prophet Charlie Shamp. I do not know him. I've not talked to him on the phone. I have asked him to call me and for us to talk, and we'll see where it goes. I can tell you right now, I feel like at least this one seems to be of the Lord. I want to see more of his other prophecies and kind of talk to him to say more, but at least at this point, I'm willing to read it on the radio. So he does not give a date for this, but it sounds like it was a few months back. Title is, and I titled it, Republican Landslide, 9 new Republican Senate seats, House stays Republican, 3 new Supreme Court justices added by 2020, and corruption uprooted. So I think I've got several comments on this one. I don't think I can read the whole thing, then come back and comment on it, so I'm going to kind of comment as we flow along. So he says, I was taken in the spirit. I saw deep-seated old roots of corruption in the foundation of the White House. Well, of course, with Obama and being in there, and then some of his predecessors, that's no surprise. The White House appeared to be shaped like a very old tree, with its branches withering. Suddenly, the hand of the Lord pulled it from the ground. Another White House was put in its place, whose roots revealed righteousness and peace. Well, I believe that is the Trump administration. The hand of the Lord planted it into rich soil, and it began to flourish. Its branches contained beautiful fruit. As I looked at this tree, it seemed to be an olive tree, meaning that it is going to be in favor of Israel. Israel is the olive tree. She's also talked about as the fig tree. But anyway, let's move along. I was again lifted up and taken to the House of Representatives, the Senate, and the Supreme Court, where I saw them uprooted as well and replaced with new trees that foundations were righteousness and peace. They, too, began to flourish and bear fruit and appeared to be olive trees as well with multicolored fruit. Now, the interpretation for what he's saying is saying that the House of Representatives, the Senate, the Supreme Court, as well as the White House are all soon to be swept and cleaned. I believe that part of that, obviously with the White House, has already started, but there's more to come in the Reps and the Senate and the Supreme Court. Let's go on. I heard the Lord speak. I have extended an olive branch of peace to the United States of America and will extend Donald Trump's presidency into a second term by the power of my right hand. Okay, pause. That's also what Sundar Selvaraj was told, in that he said that God has given us a respite, meaning that's a brief period of rest or a brief period of peace from what has been very stressful. So I like this so far. And you may be saying, wait. You just said that some other bad things are coming yesterday. But yes, as I said, there's two things happening at once. As the bad hits, the good shows up, and vice versa, unfortunately. So actually, two prophecies, one saying good, one saying bad, can, in fact, run at the same time. Now, let's go on. So I've extended the olive branch of peace to the United States of America and will extend Donald Trump's presidency into the second term by the power of my right hand. And I think I remember reading another prophecy. I'm not certain if it was from Sundar or not, but it seemed like there was another one that prophesied that he would get a second term. And I'll have to say that unless there is something to stop it, right now it appears certainly that he is marching in that direction. Let's go on now. What I have done in the White House will happen with every branch of government in the United States, for I will pull out corruption. Okay, hold on. I think, and I've said this is not by a thus saith the Lord. This is simply from my observation, and I'll say it again. I think I'm right. I think that you're about to see the greatest Republican landslide victory in the midterm elections in American political history. I think you're about to see, and I've said this here now for the last several months, that you're about to see Democrats from the bottom all the way to the top kicked out en masse. And I say that for a couple of reasons, which I will try. I'll say what's on my heart now, but I've got some more reasons that I may get to also. For one, I think that this is Jeremiah 51 verse 9 time, meaning that this is the time when God is giving our nation a chance to heal. Jeremiah 51 verse 9 says, "We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her, and let every man return into his own country." Now, I'm going to cover that more in detail, but essentially, this is our last opportunity to heal as a nation. The roundup of the 57,000 people, in my opinion, is a large portion of that opportunity to heal. But apparently, there's a lot of evil in our nation that simply will not let us heal. So consequently, God has to go ahead and destroy the nation. Now, let's reread that last line. "What I've done in the White House will happen with every branch of government in the United States, for I will pull out corruption and plant trees of righteousness that will bear much fruit." Pause again. As you have heard me talk about, that there is 57,000 sealed indictments all across America. I hear that some 20,000 of them have already been rounded up, and it kind of was rounded up in the process. In other words, there's no one big roundup, but 20,000 reportedly have already been arrested. But apparently they were low and middle level people. In other words, the people at the top, Bill and Hillary Clinton and such like that, have not been rounded up, obviously, yet. But that's going to be the challenge. That is, in my opinion, a Samson. As you recall, Samson was put to the pillars of the temple. He pulled down the pillars and killed all of the prophets of Baal that were head over Israel in those days. It's also going to be another Gideon. As you recall, Gideon and his army of 300 broke the pots, and then all of the Midianites began to fight each other, and there was great slaughter. The Midianites killed each other, and it was a great deliverance for Israel. Well, I believe that 57,000 is our great deliverance, chopping off the head of the evil, the head of the snake, removing much of the evil and the corruption from our nation. But apparently there's still so much corruption that will stand up. I mean, just like the website TrumpIsNotAboveTheLaw.org says, that they have 40,000 people ready to protest in 900 American cities if Rod Rosenstein is fired. That's just if Rod Rosenstein is fired. Try to imagine what will happen in our nation if 57,000 people, probably Rod Rosenstein is going to be one of them. If he's not just fired, he's arrested. Try to imagine. Now, let's go back to what he says. "I will pull corruption out and plant trees of righteousness." Do you think 57,000 corrupt people arrested for sex trafficking and corruption, do you think that would be pulling up the corruption and planting trees of righteousness? Yeah, I think so. Let's go on. "There will come forth new terms filled with peace. Branches will grow out of righteousness roots. The Spirit of the Lord will rest upon America again. The Spirit of wisdom and understanding, the Spirit of righteousness and counsel and might. The Spirit of knowledge and the fear of the Lord will return once again across the land." Well, I love hearing that. I love to hear that this can happen, and I can also see that happen. You remember that God has shown me a vision and also a dream and confirmed to me, Stan, I will give you part of the harvest from the seeds sown by Billy Graham. He's shown me organizing and speaking in sports stadium events. So I can see how that's happening, but I can also see that there's a lot of trouble across the land. You see, as the judgment hits, so do his miracles. The miracles are what draw people to the sports stadiums, along with some other things perhaps we'll talk about another day. Let's move along now. This again is from Prophet Charlie Shamp. "I saw a massive red tsunami wave coming to America." Okay, what's that probably talking about? I think that is referring to the Republican victory that I think we are about to see here in the next week or so. "I saw a massive red tsunami wave coming to America. Suddenly it crashed against the shores and covered the nation. I thought, no, does this mean a disaster will come? Then I heard the Lord say, I will come to America with another wave of revival. This will be the third wave and will crash against the shores so intensely that the nation will awaken to empower my church. Hold on, let's pause a second. How many times have we heard other prophets and holy servants of God and other watchmen say that God has told them the same thing, that revival is coming to the land, that power is going to return to the church? I mean, that's what he showed me in these sports stadiums. Now let's go on. I will empower my church to preach the message of the cross, and multitudes will return to the altars on street corners and stadiums. And stadiums, did you hear that? And stadiums as I cover the nation with the blood of my Son from sea to shining sea. The Lord spoke again and said, as a sure sign of these times. Oh, now listen carefully on this one, because we're going to know shortly if this is from God or not. As a sure sign of these things coming to pass, there will be a wave of conservatives. Let me say it again. A wave of conservatives elected during the midterm election in November 2018. Let me read that again. As a sure sign of these things coming to pass, there will be a wave of conservatives elected during the midterm election in November 2018. Brothers and sisters, we're about a week away from that. So we only got about another week to see if this prophecy is really going to come to pass. And in my personal opinion, as you know, I've been saying I think this is coming. This is coming. This is coming. I don't have a thus saith the Lord on it, but this brother does. Let's go on. The midterm election in November 18. It would be breaking news that will carry the House and the Senate, and I will uproot, replant, and rebuild the nation. Well, does 57,000 people arrested in a 48-hour period or a week-long period, does that sound like something that would probably be uprooting and replanting? It does to me. I will tie the three branches of government together, for a person standing alone can be attacked and defeated, but two can stand back to back and conquer. Three are even better, for a triple braided cord is not easily broken. I will no longer allow your president to stand on his own. Even now, I have called others to come alongside and to help bring the nation back from the dead, and they will take their seats in the coming days. Again, does that sound like a red tsunami? Does that sound like the Republicans kick out the Democrats from bottom to top all across the nation? Just like I've been saying? Yep, you watch. It'll happen. Let's go on. I saw the House of Representatives stay in the hands of the Republicans. Let me read that again. I saw the House of Representatives stay in the hands of the Republicans and will move much, said that twice, will move much more to conservative position. I could see into the Senate and saw the Republicans gain 9 seats. Say it again. I could see into the Senate and saw the Republicans gain 9 seats. So here's what you look for. I've got a few more sentences to read here. But we're going to know if this prophecy is going to come to pass here, by November 5th, we should know. So we see the Republicans get a massive victory. We see 9 seats won by the Republicans in the Senate. We see the representatives keep the House of Representatives in the Republicans' hands. And then, brothers and sisters, we know that this is true and right on. And again, I'll tell you, I feel the anointing and I think it's of God. We'll go on. Those that took their place were considerably more conservative than those who had previously been there. I heard the Lord say, yes, 9 will be a sign. Let me read that again. I heard the Lord say, yes, 9 will be a sign. Now, what's he talking about? 9 seats to the Republicans in the Senate. 9, remember that, 9 seats to the Republicans in the Senate. Yes, 9 will be a sign that righteousness has been birthed in the nation and earth. I saw 3 constitutional conservatives were appointed to the Supreme Court by the president before 2020. That's another big one. And I believe we have another guy, I think it's Mark Taylor, also said there would be 3, he might have said 4, but I think it's 3 Supreme Court justices appointed during President Trump's administration. I saw 3 constitutional conservatives were appointed to the Supreme Court by the president before 2020. I was also stirred in my heart at the sight of the nation. It was so no longer surviving. It was thriving. Waves of outpouring, renewal, revival were all around. I saw tangible glory clouds coming down. God will have his way in the coming days. But we must stand and continue to pray. Now that's the positive. But as you can guess, at the same time the positive is hitting, the negative is also hitting. Because understand, Jesus is working in the world. But you also have to understand that the devil is too. So let me start with that part. Refresh your memory, because we have a lot of new listeners here lately. Dmitry Duduman, a Romanian pastor, smuggled Bibles into Romania and Russia. For 30 years, was arrested, put through 5 months of torture, culminating in them putting him on the electric chair, not once, but twice. So as he's on the electric chair and the electricity is going through him, the angel Gabriel shows up and says, "You're not going to die. You're going to America to give them a warning from God." Now I'm going to skip forward. 4 years later, now he's in America. The angel comes to him and he says, "Get beside me." And he showed him all of California, Las Vegas, and New York, and Florida. And he said, "All you've seen is Sodom and Gomorrah. Their sins have reached the Holy One, and God has decided to punish it with fire." He said, "How will America fall? It's so strong." Here it is. Listen carefully. The fall of America will start with an internal revolution in America, started by the communists. Some of the people will start fighting against the government. The government will be busy with internal problems. Then from the oceans, listen carefully again, Russia, Cuba, Nicaragua, Central America, Mexico, and 2 other countries will attack. The Russians will bombard the nuclear missiles in America, and America will burn. Now let's take that step by step. The fall of America will start with an internal revolution. In my opinion, that started with the election of Trump. Wait a minute. You just said that this guy is prophesying from God and you believe he's hearing from God and that great things are coming to America. Yes, 2 prophecies are playing at once. As the judgment hits, so will the miracles. But as we see the judgment hitting, we will also begin to see the miracles hitting, meaning that there's 2 things happening at once. Let's go on. So the fall of America started with the election of Donald Trump, started by the communists. I believe that's CNN, ABC, NBC, CBS, MSNBC, the New York Times, and all of the mainstream media that hate Trump. And look, understand, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against rulers of darkness, against evil in high places. Understand that what we see in the natural, there's a whole nother spiritual world behind that. So when we say CNN, ABC, NBC, all that, understand that's the devil. Understand that there are people in high places that hate Donald Trump, and it's not that they hate Donald Trump as much as they hate who he stands for, and like it or not, in their mind, they see Donald Trump as a representative of Christ. So since the devil hates Christ so much, that's why he hates Trump. Now that's the angle that your mainstream media, even Fox News, can't and won't bring to you because they don't discuss spiritual things. So they miss that whole element, and the devil laughs and is very, very glad. Okay, so the next part is some of the people will start fighting against the government. The government will be busy with internal problems. In my opinion, that begins with the 57,000 top corrupt U.S. leaders arrested for sex trafficking and corruption, put on trial in a military tribunal, sentenced possibly as quickly as 3 months. Then from the oceans, Russia, Cuba, Nicaragua, Central America, Mexico, and 2 other countries will attack. Now, I looked up, okay, so exactly what are the countries that officially make up what they call Central America? Well, it's the first time I looked it up after all these 30 years of carrying the message. Very interesting. These are the nations that make up Central America. And I'm going to put them going south towards the north. The bottom nation, Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Honduras, El Salvador, Belize, Guatemala. Now, as we look at those nations, we Western Gentile Americans, we Christians up here in America, we don't know much about that nation or any of those nations or any of the people in those nations. But understand, brothers and sisters, their news every night is not Guatemalan news. It's not Honduran news. Yes, they have a little local news, but most of what the rest of the world watches is our news. Now, do you think that they get Fox News around the world? No, they don't. Most of them get the mainstream media, the CNNs that are talking bad about Trump and bad about everything Christian. So do you think that Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Honduras, El Salvador, Belize, and Guatemala love Trump, love America? No, they have been getting stirred up. They are angry at what they're hearing on their news because they're not getting the Fox News. They're not getting even close to the truth. Before Panama is Colombia, famous for growing illegal drugs, cocaine, and marijuana. Then next in line, as we go south, is Venezuela. Now, Venezuela had a massive oil discovery here recently, but they are also in the middle of an internal revolution, massive poverty. The Venezuelan Bolivia, I think they call it, or a Bolivia or something. I forget the name of the currency, but it's almost worthless. They use it for toilet paper. It's so bad. So are they angry at America? Oh, yeah. Now, here's another thing. So if Russia were to go to Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Honduras, El Salvador, Belize, Guatemala, and what about Colombia and Venezuela, and say, hey, we are going to be attacking America, and we're willing to give spoils of war to nations that will assist us in attacking them. Would you like to participate? Okay, so Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, all of that. Yeah, they say, yeah, well, we want a chunk of Texas. The other one says, yeah, we want some of Florida, or we want New Mexico, we want California, Southern California, Northern California. So they give them large amounts of property like that, or they say, hey, you can have half the oil or a quarter of the oil or something like that. Are they going to attack? Look, all you have to do is look at this caravan that started. Now, apparently they say that this caravan started in San Pedro Sula, Honduras. But if you look at a map, that means that if it started in Honduras, probably it also contains people from Venezuela, Colombia, Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Honduras, El Salvador, Belize, Guatemala. So when you hear caravan, think Central American countries, think the countries that Dmitry specifically was told would be attacking America. And then ask yourself, how many of these people love America? Understanding they've been listening to CNN for the last 2 years, maybe much longer than that, but definitely they've heard a lot of bad things about Trump and about Americans. So would they be willing to attack? Look at that caravan. Just look at that caravan and ask yourself, are those military age males? What would happen if someone were to provide them with some weapons? And I'm not talking about just rifles. I'm talking about some serious weapons. Matter of fact, here's Sarah Carter talking about what she found when she went down and walked with them for a couple of days.
I saw very few women and children and an enormous amount of men. There were about 1,500 in this second wave. They believe there are about 7,000 in total that crossed through here. Remember, a lot of people began joining the very first wave when they got into Mexico. So there were a lot of coyotes, a lot of drug cartel members that were pushing their own people into the crowds.
So ask yourself, if someone were to arm those people with just a little bit of talking, they could be stirred up to get really, really angry. That could be part of our invasion force. This started in San Pedro Sula, or Sula, Honduras, continued through Mexico, and now it's heading up to America. So let's get this picture. The Republicans get a landslide victory in 2018. About that time, this caravan starts arriving. Trump declares a national emergency, which he needs to do to round up the 57,000 sealed indictments. He also sends the military down to the southern border. What happens if something really, really bad happens? Let's say, for example, these military-age Hondurans and Guatemalans decide that they're not going to just stand down and just walk away. They start charging the border, and Trump gives orders to start firing. What happens if it turns up to be a big massacre or something really, really bad? In other words, very quickly, we could have Central America very angry at us, along with Mexico, along with Cuba, along with Venezuela and Colombia. We could have a lot of enemies really, really fast. This caravan could blow up in our face big time. So let's assume the Republicans get a landslide victory. Alongside of this caravan hits, and Trump says we're not going to put up with it, and all of a sudden half of the world is angry at us over how we treat these immigrants. And of course, stirred up by CNN and all that sort of stuff. Now, I said I would give you some more reasons why I think the Republicans are about to win. This is not a thus saith the Lord. This is just my observations. So if you look at the Republican crowds versus the Democrat crowds, here's what I see. I saw a picture of Obama speaking where the picture was taken from behind him so you could see the size of crowd he was speaking to, and by my estimation, it was about 1,000. Now, news reports said it was 5,000. Okay, fine. Let's say it's 5,000. Then I saw other pictures from behind Trump where you could see the crowd he was talking to, and it was anywhere from 10,000 to 20,000. And then several reports say there's more people outside waiting to get in that can't get in that want to get in. Then down in Houston, they had 100,000 people RSVP saying they wanted to come to the Houston Trump rally. When Obama does a rally, and you can check this yourself. I mean, go ahead, check it. I did. About 24 hours later, after Obama speaks, or one of the Democrats speak, then you look and you see how many views they have on YouTube. They can't cover that up. Well, I looked. After Obama talked, for example, in Las Vegas, 24 hours afterwards, he had about 1,000 views. Trump, after 24 hours after he spoke, sometimes he has 10,000. Sometimes it's all the way up to 30,000 views 24 hours later. So it's not real difficult to figure out just in the natural that these polls that say that they're tight and everything, they're not tight. The Republicans are about to kick the Democrats out really strong. Now, here's another reason why I think we're about to see a Republican victory. Daniel 7:4. This is talking about America, where the eagle's wings, let me get to it because I'm running out of time, had eagle's wings, and I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, means America falls, and it was lifted up from the earth and made to stand upon the feet as a man. Here it is. And a man's heart was given unto it. So God gave America a heart. Now, that's not what he gave to the other nations. So we're a nation of heart. And I do not think that even if a person is not a Christian, that they appreciated how they have seen the Democrats kick people out of restaurants, holler shame, 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 spit on people, and then how they treated Kavanaugh. And I think that the average American, even if they're not Christian, is not going to approve of that kind of conduct. That's not the way we operate. That's not the heart that was given to us. Then you look at Jeremiah 51, verse 9. I've said this a lot. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her and let us, every man, return to his own country. This is our last chance as a nation to heal. And apparently, according to Jeremiah 51, verse 9, we won't heal. However, we still need to pray, which is why you want to join Fast Track. Fast Track is free. You can quit anytime you want. I never ask for donations, and I never send product offers. This is only if you want to fast and pray. The fast is from Tuesday evening at midnight to Wednesday afternoon, 4 p.m. Every Tuesday evening, I personally send you an email saying this is what we want to pray for. This is the prayer we're all praying, and on that day, we want to focus it in like a laser, okay, right into the throne room. So we ask you to primarily that day pray for the things we ask you to pray for. Run out of time. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your prayers. And thank you for your gifts of support. God bless.
Prophecy Club is on the tip of God's spear. Join the battle and prayerfully consider supporting the Prophecy Club with your gifts of support. We would not be here without your prayers and generous financial support.
Now from the Prophecy Club, some exciting opportunities for you. You can now watch 160 Prophecy Club recordings and soon over 300 without interruption. Most people would agree 300 titles, normally $30 each. A gift of $100 a month would be reasonable. $50 a pretty good deal, but the introductory rate for a limited time is just $20, recurring monthly subscription. A one-year subscription is a gift of $200. There's no contract. You can cancel anytime you want to, and you get the first 3 days free just to check it out. The best deal is a yearly subscription that'll lock in your rate for a year even when we raise the rates. Watch prophecyclub.com. Go check it out. WatchProphecyClub.com.